Hi, welcome to my channel. Judy's losing it. I'm Judy, and I'm sure as heck trying to lose it. It has been a long time since I put any videos up. It has been a very difficult, I'd say, while that I've been going through. I have, life continues. So let me just start where it all began. In the end of 2015, I had gotten approved through my insurance company in the state of Washington for bariatric surgery. And in order to complete my my requirements for insurance to pay for it, I needed to lose 5% of my body weight, and I needed to have 6 months of, once a month seeing my doctor, every other week seeing a nutritionist, and also 6 visits to physical therapy, and also like every other month or every other week to see a therapist. So I started off my first week, it was Christmas, and the person I was talking to, I had gained like 18 pounds since my weigh-in. So she had marked me down as, I forget exactly the numbers, but in the 350s, and I was like 370, something like that. And she was like, okay, we will now use that as your high weight. You know, in hindsight, did she document that? I have no way of knowing. But anyways, I went through that 6-month program. I lost, more than the 5%. I was doing really well, thinking I was ready for surgery, but I still had one last hoop to jump, and that was to get a psych evaluation. And I mistakenly went out of town for it. I couldn't find anybody in town to take my insurance. And so one gentleman offered to, but only as a last resort. And instead of taking him up on that last resort, I went to Seattle at UW Med, and I saw somebody who was not even in the field of binge eating or eating disorders. So we had a conversation, and he let me leave the office thinking that I'd passed, only to find out later that he failed me, which really made me angry. It still kind of makes me mad. It's like, I can understand, but I mean, you're a mental health therapist. You should be able to deal with people, getting upset in your office. But to let me leave thinking everything was okay, but that if I were to have a binge eating episode or something like that, that I really needed to see a specialist, that's how I left his office after the evaluation. And what happened? He ended up failing me. And so then I had to go through a whole process. I was going to be getting weight loss surgery through the University of Washington. And so I was dealing with their social worker and my insurance person, who was my counselor. She was basically helping me through it. And so the two of them came up with this plan that if I were to see a eating disorder specialist, that they would then, for 6 months, then I would be able to rejoin the program. So that's what I did. And I was able to see somebody locally. And, unfortunately, I was so disappointed. I didn't take as good advantage of it as I should have. between myself and my specialist, you know, we came up with a version of what was considered binge eating. And, you know, which also had a calorie component as well as just mindlessly sticking food in your mouth. So, so the real push, seeing him, was to perhaps not weigh as much and focus on eating, you know, more naturally, waiting till I was hungry, you know, yes, watching what I'm eating, but, you know, trying to curb the binge eating, but not necessarily focusing on the weight. So between not focusing on my weight and disappointment, I gained back some of the weight that I had lost on my 5%. But, you know, then after I got done with that 6-month thing, then I went through the whole process of trying to get an appointment back at UW, which took months. I mean, these people are not very quick. They're huge, and you're in a, you know, large group of people, and they're shuffling you through, and, you know, there's no going first to the line. And, you know, from my 370, 375 high, I was like around 352 or something like that, 355, somewhere in there, when I went back and was seen at UW. And I was concerned because I wasn't as low as I felt like I should be. So, but they were quite happy, you know, they thought, oh, no problem. So they start working towards scheduling me, and so they had to talk to my insurance company. And my insurance company denied me. They denied me on 2 reasons: that I hadn't lost enough weight, and also that it took too long, that it had to be done within a year. And during this, yeah, it was close to a 1.5 years, the person in the in my insurance company who was representing me, they retired her. She didn't want to go, but she was retired. So I had absolutely no advocate within my insurance company. I immediately said, hey, I don't think that's right. And, you know, wrote a letter, gave a list of my reasons, and they still came back at me. So I then went into more detail, and I made copies of all my history and so forth, and they still rejected me. And after that point, if I were to fight them, I was going to have to, I mean, I'm up in the northwest corner of Washington State on the coast. And so I would have had like probably a 3-hour drive to Olympia, and I was probably going to have to hire a lawyer. And at that point, I was so angry and so mad that I said, no, I don't even trust you people to keep me alive. I just, you know, this isn't going to work out, and it's not going to work out well for me. I am not trusting you guys again. So, but the thing was that there was an age limit as well on my insurance. And once I turned 59, I was no longer going to be, able to work that program. And I turned 59. So that was like July of 2017. July, August. And I just stopped doing anything. I was depressed. I was upset. So I was eating wrong, and I wasn't continuing my exercise program. And then in October, I took a stupid fall just walking across the street. There was this huge divot in the road, and I wasn't looking down. I fell, and I broke my wrist here. It took surgery. I have a plate, several pins and screws to keeping it all together. Luckily, I have full mobility. I'm very lucky that way. if I was going to break something, that was probably not the worst thing to break, but you know, suddenly I'm into 2018 and got my cast off and no hope. So I started eating and I gained weight and noticed I was having another problem, a female problem, that required me to have a hysterectomy in August of last year, of 2018. At that point on my home scale, I weighed the heaviest that I've ever recorded, and that was 385. The moment I went into my surgeon's office, she immediately said, you know, you need weight loss surgery. And I said, you know, for the last 2 years, that's exactly what I've been trying to do and have gotten refused, denied. And she was like, oh, well, maybe this will put you over. And I'm like, I'm not trusting, I'm not trusting those suckers with my health again, with my life. So anyways, it was very successful. No cancer, but another surgery after my other. And, but luckily, funds became somewhat available to me to have surgery out of the country. And so my hope was I was going to have surgery in January or February of 2019. Well, of course, nothing in this process is easy or goes my way. So I ended up having to postpone due to money problems, which is my life, and which sort of resolved, and I ended up being able to have weight loss surgery in Tijuana, Mexico, July 2nd of 2019, this year. I had, in the meantime, knowing that I now had hope for bariatric surgery, I went ahead and had worked on losing weight after my hysterectomy. I was starting to take things very seriously. So I had lost 30 pounds prior to me really seriously thinking about having bariatric surgery. Then I went to BariatricPal Hospital MX. Dr. Illan was my surgeon, and that's who I decided to go with. And with my weight at that time of 355, I was, oh, sorry, my dog is a little noisy. Come on, bud. Sorry. I ended up having to go on a 5-week special diet from, you know, their nutritionist. So I had 3 weeks of eating, you know, kind of low calorie, sugar-free, low processed, you know, kind of meat and salads, a couple of eggs in the morning with maybe a piece of ham, and sugar-free yogurt, and sugar-free popsicles, that kind of thing. And then after that, I had 2 weeks of clear liquid diet. So broth, you know, pureed soups, still could have yogurt. No, could I have yogurt? Yeah, I think I could have yogurt. No, I'm not sure. But anyways, pretty much, you know, protein shakes, all of that kind of stuff. And so I flew out of my hometown of Bellingham and went to directly, it's so nice, I was able to fly directly to San Diego Airport, where I was picked up, and they took me across the Mexican border. Nobody stopped to say, oh, are you legally coming into the country? Nothing like that. And I spent the first night in a hotel, which I was going to be picked up from the next day to go for surgery. And yeah, I was just a little freaked out, so I didn't even go out of the hospital that day, or the hotel. But then there's a nice place, and next morning, and they also served bariatric, they were set up to deal with hospital people going for weight loss surgery. So they had a special meal for me for that evening. Having bottled water was probably my biggest issue, and I probably just should have called room service and had them bring me 3 or 4, but I wasn't that smart. But anyways, next day I went to the hospital. It was a small facility, probably more what we would think of as a clinic, but it was a small compound, and everything was gated. Everything had security, hotel, hospital. Hospital had a couple of guards plus a dog. I heard barking periodically throughout the evening. I was in the hospital 2 days, and they released me on the 3rd. So Tuesday the 2nd was when I had surgery, and it was probably around noon that I actually had surgery. A woman I met, we are still in contact. She had a sleeve done as well right after me, so her voice was the first I heard in recovery that I remember. And then I was taken back to my room, which is a very nice room. For some reason I had this huge suite kind of thing. And they took very good care of me. Before surgery, they took blood. They did a whole blood work. They took an x-ray of my chest to make sure I was, okay for surgery. I talked to a cardiologist. I talked to an internist. Because of my weight and some of my health issues, we went into great details about that. Everything went really well. I was quite thirsty that evening. I was probably groggy and out of it till 7 or 8, but I did get out of bed and I walked a couple of times that evening. The next day, you had to have a leak test, so you had to swallow contrast, and then they took an x-ray of your stomach just to make sure there was no dye going anywhere other than your stomach, and that worked out just fine. And after that, then I was allowed water, and they brought me this wonderful tray of broth and water and ice chips and I don't know, 3 different flavored drinks and a thing of Jell-O, which it took about all day to consume, but it was really nice. And then my sleeve sister, she and her companion showed up. So also, I forgot to tell you, I went alone, which was perfectly fine. It worked out just fine. And in fact, I was really proud of myself afterwards. Not only did I travel alone, but I had major surgery and didn't freak out. So I was it definitely built confidence. Then, the goal was to get up and walk as much. I was able to take a shower that day, and I got dressed. I still had an IV in, so there was no concern about dehydration, which I have to say, in comparison to, thinking about the amount of liquids I was able to get in, I think it actually is a good idea that the surgery here in the U.S., I mean, you're released you have surgery one day and you're released the second day for the sleeve. And I think having that IV in, as long as they left it in, I was very hydrated, and I didn't have to worry about drinking those, 40 to 60 ounces to keep hydration going. The bad side was, as a nutritionist who came in to see me said, I'd probably gained about 15 pounds, which was something I was unprepared for, I have to say. when I got home and my clothes were tighter than they were when I left, I was a little upset for a few days. But then on the third day back in Tijuana, our driver, we had to pick up some medication. And so for blood thinners, it's now illegal in Mexico for doctors to prescribe blood thinners, anything, I think in a shot form, for people to take across the border. And so we had to personally buy them. And because of my weight, and I already knew through UW that they would have done it for 3 weeks with a blood thinner, I went ahead and bought 2 weeks. Through this particular program, it was more usual for just a week. But I felt like I wanted to be safer than sorry. So I, after we got our medication, then we were taken back to the hotel. I had a different room, unfortunately, that didn't have the same view, but it was perfectly fine. And then we went on a tour of Tijuana. We were gone probably 4 or 5 hours. It was relaxing. It was beautiful. It was fun. We went to the beach. I didn't really feel like tackling the sand, but I definitely felt like walking along this boardwalk, which was beautiful. It had all sorts of sculpture. It was lovely getting some salt air, fresh air after being in the hospital for 2 days. And then we went into Tijuana proper. We got to shopping, which at that point I knew I had to get a bag because I had brought too many clothes and my suitcase was too small to bring all the medications back that I'd been given. That was another thing. The nutritionist came in with this huge bag of drugs. So, drugs. A pain pill. I think we had 6. But also 2 things for our stomach, kind of a Maalox thing that you had to drink, and then a pill, because it's really important to protect our stomach to keep from getting acid reflux. I forget, a couple of other things. And so it was bulky, plus these blood thinners, which were in 2 big bulky things as well. So I bought a bag, and I bought a t-shirt for my niece who was watching my dog for a couple of days, and then a piece of jewelry, which I kind of regret. We're not all perfect. And then we had lunch at Caesar's, the original Caesar's restaurant, who created the Caesar salad, and that was a lovely experience. Oh, and I was doing all this with my sleeve sister and her companion and the driver, and the 4 of us just really had a nice day. And after that, we walked over to another pharmacy, but more of a regular pharmacy. I didn't feel like I was doing the drug deal. I felt like at the first one with our blood thinners. But then I bought some Retin A, which I am happy to have. I will use that over time. And then there was another little shopping center that we walked through. And yeah, it was just a very, very pleasant, beautiful day in Tijuana. And Tijuana is worth visiting. I had been there in like 78, 79, and it was a scary place. And yeah, there's a lot of homeless, but there's a lot of homeless where I live too. So, you know, I really couldn't say, oh my gosh, this is a third world country, when it feels like I live in a third world country. So, when it comes to homeless and the hungry. So yeah, I felt fine about it. And the other thing that got me too, it wasn't like, I mean, in Bellingham, you know, homeless are standing there with signs that they've written on a piece of cardboard, like, I'm a vet, anything helps, or give me money for pot. I mean, it's the whole full range and gamut of what people are putting up there. And they expect you to stop and give them money. And the one thing I noticed is, yeah, there were a lot of people on the street walking, but they had like fruit that they were wanting to sell you. They were wanting to sell you something, either, you know, a piece of fruit, a bottle of water, a little tchotchke, or, hey, can I clean your car for you while you're waiting in line? You know, I'm going to clean, you know, so I mean, yeah, there were panhandlers in the sense that people were wanting money, but they were expecting to do something or give you something for that money, which I liked. You know, it's, you know, and there were no taco trucks, there were taco carts. Guys were pushing their carts with their taco making stuff. And, you know, when I go back again, I definitely want to have a taco because I heard that they were quite good. So, so then after that, I had another bariatric dinner with my sleeve sister and her companion. And then the next morning we get picked up and we head back across the border to the airport. You know, it was perfectly fine, got home, got picked up. Things were going really well. And I lost 20 pounds on the pre-op diet. So I was down 50 pounds. So when I started for my surgery weight, I consider that to be 335. Yeah, no, 334. I'd lost 21 pounds. Okay. So I quickly at home lost another 20 in the first 2 weeks, and I was really happy about that. And then I had a stall. And I stalled, and I stalled, and I stalled. And I got depressed. And I had some things I shouldn't have. So I stalled for a second week, or just about. And my sleeve sister reached out to me, and I felt like she slapped me across the internet, which was just fine because I needed it. And so I've been back. You know, I've been working it. I consider this to be my first month. So right now, for that first month, I weighed in at 311. So right now I'm down 44 pounds. So I've lost 23 for my first month, which is pretty good. Is it where I want to be? Of course not. But I do have one other thing. I am 60 years old. And my bad knees were what originally 4 years ago, about 4 years ago, qualified me for weight loss surgery. Orthopedic surgeon told me, yeah, you are going to need weight loss surgery down the road. I mean, you're going to need knee replacements. So, you know, I'm not happy at that news, but, you know, but I was walking just fine in Mexico. I mean, up and down the halls wasn't a problem. Doing the Mexico thing, I got tired, you know, but I was on my feet a while. You know, they really had us walking and having fun, which is a great combination. And lo and behold, I get home like on a Friday, and by Sunday, I'm crippled. I'm having these terrible knee pains and leg pains. And, you know, I ended up going to see my doctor twice now. And so the benefits I'd been hoping for haven't quite come through. I'm not able to walk much. Once my legs start cramping, and, you know, I'm out. I'm recovering better. I thought it was getting better. And then I went to Costco the other night, and then I couldn't get in the car. It's a Suburban, and I have to climb up, and I couldn't bend my leg enough to get in the front seat, so I had to sit in the back seat behind the driver, which was, you know, very upsetting. You know, I'm trying to walk as much as I can without causing these episodes, but it's very painful. The only thing that helps is laying down. Anyways, so I have an appointment to see a physical therapist on Wednesday. My doctor has already had me go and have an ultrasound because obviously the first thing after surgery, oh, you might have a blood clot. Well, that didn't pan out at all. And then she wants me to have a vascular ultrasound to make sure that I'm blood's flowing through my lower extremities. So I'd like to just be focusing on walking more and, you know, eating better, but that isn't to be right now. And I'm trying to have the patience that I need. But that's where I find myself beginning my second month after my vertical sleeve gastrectomy. And have you had surgery? Are you planning on it? What's your story? I'd love to hear below. Anyways, take care, and I will be trying to update monthly. That's kind of my goal. I don't plan on no. Once a month, because I think it's important for me to keep me accountable and also give me a place to freely talk about what's going on in my life. And as an older person going through this, my challenges are different from somebody in their 20s or 30s. And so, you know, it'll be interesting. I still have hopes that I will be down 100 pounds in 6 months, but it might take me 8, might take me a year. I don't know, but I'm working on it. So take care, and I will be back soon. Bye.